Are you tired of watching customers drop off at critical points in their journey with your brand? From lack of personalization to frustrating support experiences, many businesses struggle to create seamless and engaging interactions. Is your funnel dead? Are funnels dead? Today, we're going to talk about customer journey strategies. And if you're ready, so am I. I'll be right back with another episode of Strategy Talks. Here we go.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be back with another episode of Strategy Talk Season 4 with another strategic thinker, another person who's got a book coming out. I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend, Ashley Faus. So I'm going to bring her right up onto the stage. And while I do that, I want to welcome everybody who is here with us live. If you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, or maybe you're listening to this as a podcast later, welcome to everybody. Hi, Ashley. How are you today?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good. So I have another episode. I talk to lots of people who are writing books these days, and I love that because that means that you're all strategic thinkers, which is what this whole season's all about. So we're going to talk about funnels. Like you want us to reimagine the funnel. So we're going to dive right in. What does that mean? What does it mean to look at it as a playground? Because that's what I was reading. Let's talk. Let's talk about customer journeys.
Sure. So I'll start with kind of the quippy soundbite, which is basically the funnel is dead, use a playground instead.
Okay.
I generally am not a fan of declaring things dead, but I actually feel like the funnel was never actually alive. So I feel less concerned about this.
Okay.
But a couple of things that means. From my perspective, the funnel is a retrospective measurement tool, not a forward-looking strategy tool. Like, yes, objectively, a certain number of people became aware of the company or the product. A certain number of them were like, maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I might like to buy. Are you guys? Can you solve my problem? And then a certain number of them bought. And with the rise of subscription services and subscription software, SaaS models, yes, a certain number of those people, again, buy, expand, stay with the company. And so they do some sort of post-purchase thing. So we end up with actually a looping decision journey, not a funnel. But this idea that we should like map our content and map our touch points directly to awareness, consideration, purchase, and then, retention, cross-sell, upsell, whatever that post-purchase action is, really makes no sense. And so the example I like to give is actually pricing. So pricing is traditionally considered a bottom of funnel or purchase level conversation. But if I'm trying to secure budget, then I need to know basic pricing. And so I had this experience. I reached out to a number of big players in the space and I said, hey, can you give me a ballpark estimate for the number of seats at this service level so I can go get budget? And they were like, well, you need to book a demo. Here's a case study. Have you seen this research on why this problem matters? And I'm like, yeah, I have zero budget at this point. So like, no, I'm actually not considering something or so I finally got somebody to give me pricing. So I secure the budget. And the only reason I was looking to get budget in the first place is because I was already bought in on the problem. And I was actually already bought in on a solution like this, like a tool will help me solve this problem. So I get on the call and, most of the sales reps open with, in today's ever evolving world, this problem. And I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there. I've done all my research. Here's my criteria. Am I missing anything from this checklist of like features and capabilities that I need? I'm ready to buy, and here's how much I have to spend. I'm considering you and your two competitors. Like, these are the three. Please sell me. And the number of reps that were like, oh, okay, but we need you to like read this case study. I'm literally on a demo call with you. Show me your freaking product. Don't make me go fill out another form so that you can track that I read the case study. Like, no. So again, when you actually look at how the audience engages, the funnel assumes that it only matters when I, as a marketer, become aware of you being on a journey. And it assumes that you go in this linear way and that I can just force you down this funnel. Humans don't work like that. We never have. You can see it literally on a playground. My 3-year-old nephew is supposed to go down the slide. Of course, he wants to go up the slide, right? So when we apply that mindset to our audience, we realize it is not in our nature to go neatly down the path that someone has laid out for us.
No, I love this analogy. And I absolutely agree with you that sometimes we come in different places in the funnel, if we were talking about a funnel. And it frustrates me greatly as well that you get on the demo and I'm like, well, I have money. Yeah. Like, tell me what I need. Yeah. And actually I have an example of that. I have a client that I worked with, a B2B SaaS company, who the owner, because it was a startup, was doing the demos. And this is a little bit different, but it kind of fits into the customer journey. When he first started out, everybody that came to the demo was cold, right? Because it was like, let's set some appointments. And then once we started doing social media, he said people came to the demo asking questions because they had seen this information, they had seen this video, they had heard him talk about that. And then they made the connection. Hey, you're the guy in the video. You're actually the owner who made the videos, and now you're in. So he was able to sell faster, better to better people because there was a different kind of lead up to that. So I love that we're talking customer journeys. Now, when we're talking about a playground kind of scenario, does that mean it's a circle? Does it mean, like, how do you visualize? Let's just talk about it. How, funnel is easy to visualize, right? How do we visualize a playground, or would you draw it, Ashley?
Yeah. So I actually think visualizing an actual playground makes sense. And again, I don't have kids. I've got nieces and nephews. There's a playground near our house that we walk out at lunch frequently. And if you look at how the kids play, they literally go randomly from apparatus to apparatus. They go up and down things in a way that they're not supposed to. One call out I jokingly make is like, what about the people sitting on the park bench? Are they using the playground the wrong way? And it's like, well, no, of course not. The park bench belongs there. And like, you should sit on it. And so it is a lot harder as a marketer to design a journey that is so smart and so seamless and so helpful, no matter which order you go in. If you go slides, then swings, then merry-go-round, if you skip the merry-go-round altogether, if you leave for a while and go hang out in the neighborhood or come back and just sit on the park bench, all of that behavior is behavior that we need to design for. And so, yes, a funnel is very easy to be like, yes, we shall put the social medias in the top of funnel, which again makes no sense to me because I've actually seen really excellent use intent content on social media that I guess, again, where does it map to? Does it map to consideration? Does it map to post-purchase? Right. So the way I talk about this is actually mapping content to the audience intent, and then also mapping it to content depth. So if we think about it from an intent standpoint, this is what is the next action that we want the audience to take after they land on this landing page or read this blog post or log into the product and start creating templates. Like, what do we want them to do? So there's trust or affinity intent. And the next action in that case is kind of just feel better about the brand or have the perception that we're trustworthy. Maybe they share, maybe they tell other people, like, I'll use Atlassian since that's where I work. That Atlassian, they seem like a good company. That would be the result of trust or affinity intent content that they've consumed in the journey. Next would be buy intent. And this, of course, we all love. We're marketers, we're like, haha, the buy intent. And this is something the next action would be in service of them giving money. So contact sales, book a demo, sign up for a free trial, ask for an RFP if you're a services business, in some way actually like starting to give the company money, buying a subscription, whatever it is. Use intent content is taking advantage of the offering that they've already got. So it might be attending office hours, it might be the weekly strategy session if it's a services company, or it would be logging into the product. eating the candy bar. This works from a consumer standpoint, right? Like you buy your Snickers, cool, you should eat it so you're not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
And then help or remediation intent. So these are things like you're trying to troubleshoot a problem, something's broken, something's not working. Again, I come from a SaaS kind of background and context. So things like your support documentation, your service desks, your support tickets, those would be help intent type content, searches, touch points. And then last is true learn intent. And I think this is a problem from a marketing and a sales perspective. Somehow we've convinced ourselves that the best content is educational. And so we try to shoehorn everything into this like learn intent. Well, we're going to tell them why we're the best product. So they're learning why. No, that's buy intent content. Or we're going to teach them how to use this feature. So, it's learn intent. No, using a feature is use intent. So true learn intent, maybe they just read it and think about it. Maybe it's practices, and so they can apply it with their teams. Maybe they share it on social media, right? But if it's not helping them kind of log directly into the product or buy a new services package, it's not helping them log in because their login's broken, they forgot their password, right? It's not generally changing their perception. True learn intent content really helps them take action in a new way, regardless of whether or not they buy your product. So those are the actual intents. And I'll pause there because that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Very different than like awareness, consideration, purchase.
Right. Well, and I'm going to, as a mom and a former nanny, I actually can give you a little bit of insight on that playground too, with the intent, right? I was at the playground years ago with my two boys. They were 1 and 3 with my mother-in-law. I'm Dutch. My mother-in-law is American. And so we were sitting at the playground, and I actually was sitting on the bench, and my 1-year-old was just kind of walking around. He couldn't climb yet, but my 3-year-old was super advanced, and he was doing monkey bars, crazy stuff. And she looked at me and said, every other mother is on the playground ready to catch a child. Why are you sitting here? Just explain it to me. And I said, well, I've taught my children that the only way to learn is to explore. So if you can climb up, you can figure out a way to climb down. But if you can't climb up, I'm not going to boost you and push you up. That's not learning. That's me enabling you to do something you're not ready for. So the 1-year-old couldn't do anything. He just walked around and probably ate sand, which was fine because that's what all he wanted to do. And he was very happy. But the 3-year-old was able to climb up. So he was able to climb down. And so I think that with your playground analysis with people, there's going to be people at different journeys and different skills. So pushing them all into a funnel where they're all learning stuff at the same time makes no sense. You want them to get that learning. And some people are tactical learners, right? They go out and try things and dashboards. I very much, as an early marketer, did a lot of buying decisions based on what the dashboard looked like because I was very tech challenged. And I'm not going to name names, but there was one that was recommended to me over and over. And I finally, one of them was my husband recommending, and I said scheduling tool. And I'm like, I get lost. I get scared. I log in and I want to log out and run away. But then there was another one there that I logged in. I'm like, this makes sense. This is how I work. I can touch the buttons and not break anything. This makes sense. So I totally get what you're saying about the playground and the intent. So I absolutely love that. I can't wait to read your book, and let's get into that book. So you talk about, let me just read it right. Human-centered marketing in the age of AI. So how does AI play into this? What do you talk about AI in your book and the customer journey? Where can we use it? Where should we use caution? Where should we stay away? Let's talk about AI and the customer journey next.
Sure. Yeah. So my book is called Human-Centered Marketing: How to Connect with Audiences in the Age of AI. And it actually doesn't talk a ton about AI. I think that so many people are so tilted towards this tool can solve these problems. And I actually disagree. I think that the human connection in the age of AI is the thing that is going to differentiate us. Yes, there's a time and a place for tech, tools, automation, efficiency, etc. The things you can't automate, the things you can't make more efficient, is that human connection. Trust is the thing that you can't automate. So there's some interesting things there, right? Like if we think about this connecting in the playground and then also connecting from an AI perspective, there's a lot of distrust right now about AI. There's a whole conversation happening on LinkedIn of like, if someone uses an M dash, haha, that means it's AI. And then you've got a bunch of like writers coming in being like, I love a good M dash. I'm a human, right? So this idea that we need to suss out who's using AI and then haha, they faked us. And it's like, what if, hear me out, you tell people when you're using AI and what you used it for and why you used it. And then that way, when you don't call out that you used AI, people trust you that you didn't use it, right? So this idea that we're going to like trick people into buying or trick people into believing us, it actually works in the opposite way if you hide it, if you're transparent about it. So I talk about this from a customer journey perspective. Your CTAs, do not say learn more. Nobody knows what that is. What's going to happen when I click that button? I don't know. Is it going to take me to a sign up? Is it going to force me down a sales path? Like, I don't know. Versus book a demo, contact sales, sign up for free, register for your seat, buy a ticket, read the blog, watch a video. Great. So if I give you the option not to go down a buying path where, book a demo, contact sales, activate your free trial, those are all buying paths. If I then give you the option to not buy, read the blog, watch a video, download the PDF without a form, right? Now you can trust me because my CTAs are transparent. It's the same thing with AI. If I tell you, and actually Christopher Penn, I know you had him as a guest. I think what he and Katie Robert from the Trust Insights team do, he'll tell you 70% of this content was generated by AI. And I used Claude, or I used Perplexity or ChatGPT. He'll say 50% of this was generated by me, the human. Here's exactly where I used AI. I trust him more because he tells me exactly what he used, why he used it, and where he used it. And so when he doesn't call out AI in his use case, I'm like, oh, okay, this is Christopher himself. This is his own content or his own ideas. And so as we think about how we design those journeys, you have to show the humans behind the screen. It's much more trustworthy to me if I know that Doreen is the person that said this, and here's kind of her credentials. And oh, by the way, she used Grammarly to make sure that, her content is correct, grammatically correct, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I know Doreen, she's a human. She has, 15, 20 years of experience. She told me she's using Grammarly. So I know that this content did have some AI input into it, but I trust it because all of that was transparent and I can connect the dots between Doreen's expertise and AI enhancement.
That is so right. And after I interviewed Christopher Penn, I started doing that on LinkedIn. I was like, this, thanks to whatever tool I used for creating this list for me, right? So that list, I will say, this list is made by the AI tool, but the rest of the post, as implied, but that's what people will learn, is me, my take on things. So yeah, that's it was an eye-opening thing. And I love that you're talking about that too, that makes a lot of sense when you're transparent, when you're open, because we know that even just from spring of 24 to spring of 25, where we are now, how has our usage of AI changed? How has our perception of AI changed? So fast forward another year or two, we know that everybody is going to use AI. Even those who say they're not, they're going to have to, because if they don't use AI, they're going to be left behind. So we know being transparent about what part. I love that you said that. That's if we can just say, hey, I use this list to get this, or I used AI to help me brainstorm this, or I used AI to analyze this report. And these are the things that I think we should talk about that came up, right? So that makes a ton of sense. So I and your book isn't about AI. That's great, but it has the title AI in it. So that all makes sense as well. So let's talk about segmentation, personalization in this playground place, instead of a funnel, in this journey on a playground. Does it look different in a funnel? Is it still the same?
So I do think it looks a little bit different. And I think that a lot of it is basically allowing people to choose their own journey. I think a lot of personalization again, it relies too much on tools and tokens, like going back to the HubSpot and Marketo days where you'd have a little token for email. And it would be like, hi, insert first name. If no first name, then generic greeting, friend. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not your friend. Go away, right? Like, hello. Just change it to hello.
Right,
And so a lot of personalization is this very like rote thing where it's kind of like, hello, Doreen. I see you're wearing glasses today. Do you need an eye appointment as a glasses wearer? It's like, thank you. You looked at
Yeah.
my picture. Like it just it's very weird.
Yeah.
In contrast, that sense that I am allowing you to go on the journey that you want to go in. And so one of the ways that we do this is with content depths. So conceptual, strategic, and tactical. I want to be very clear. These are not just different words than the funnel. So if we think about this, conceptual is the what and the why of the idea. It's a little bit more philosophical or theoretical in nature, and it helps the audience think about the problem space. At the strategic level, you have the process, tools, and key knowledge components that must be in place to make that conceptual idea reality. And it helps the audience think about the solution space and do their own research. And then the tactical, that's the nitty-gritty, prescriptive habits, tasks that need to happen regularly in order to implement the strategy to make that conceptual idea reality. So if you are already bought in on the problem and you're already an expert in the solution, but you're just looking for some fresh ideas, you might only need tactical content. So I was thinking about this. I was at the gym the other day and I was like, it was very busy. There were not enough dumbbells and plates. The machines were all taken. And so I was kind of wandering around like, all right, I got to make up my own workout. And I was thinking back on some of the videos that I have watched on Instagram. I am an expert in the gym. I'm excellent at form. I eat my protein. I understand how macros and nutrition and different types of workouts and, anabolic versus whatever the other one is for, there's like the fast twitch muscles that like, I know all of that. From a tactical perspective, I still consume very basic workout videos because it just keeps me sharp. It just gives me more constant input that if I walk into a gym that's too busy, not enough plates, not enough machines, very little floor space, I can get in a good workout because I have all of that tactical information. If you have never been into a gym in your life, if you've never taken PE, if you have no idea how muscles work or how the body works, you might actually need to understand why there are different types of workouts, what it means to build muscle. How do you have good form, right? From a strategic standpoint. The same is true from a cooking standpoint. Again, had the scenario where I had a bunch of leftover produce and I'm kind of like, what can I do with this? And I'm like, dude, I'm going to make some Thai chicken curry. Perfect. And I just start throwing things in the pot. If you've literally never made food in your life, right? This idea that you're going to just start like olive oil. Why? Okay, well, you put that in the pan and you have to let it heat up a little bit. And here's kind of what it looks like when it starts to get to a point where it's too hot or too, not hot enough. If you have never dealt with anything from a cooking perspective and you have no concept of fat, salt, and heat, you're going to struggle to make a tasty dish, right? So we understand this in most other areas of our life. And I choose fitness and cooking because those are things that a lot of people do. We have to translate that same mindset to personalizing the journey for our audience. If you're already familiar with the problem space, again, in your case, this scheduling tool,
Sure.
you don't need somebody to explain to you why scheduling is important.
No.
You
and
know.
I've been in those demos. Just like you. I'm like, wait a second. I already am sold. I know I need the tool. I know I'm just, like you said, I'm looking between this one and that one. And it's usually price-based or how many team members, how many seats do I get?
Yes.
Or, does it go scheduled to this platform that I really need? Right?
Exactly.
So
you need to know
very specific.
Exactly. You need tactical use intent information in that case, or tactical buy intent. Let's say from a criteria standpoint, it needs to integrate with Google Calendar because that's what you use in your shop, right? You don't need somebody to explain the pain of going back and forth and figuring out, okay, Doreen, can you do this time? Well, actually, let me CC my assistant. You get it. You just need tactical buy intent or use intent content. You don't need a whole conceptual level. So that's how I think about that in terms of the personalization of the journey is actually making it super easy to jump up and down if you literally have no idea why it's annoying to have an assistant, two assistants go back and forth, and it's like, in a lot of companies with the flattening hierarchies, most people don't have an assistant, or you're a small business or whatever, this tool makes it easier, right? Maybe you do actually need that education. So making it obvious and easy for people to go up or down from different depths, that's another way to personalize that journey versus, hello, insert first name token.
I love it. Well, we are 25 minutes in. I'm going to have one last question for you. What do you see happening? Of course, your book's coming out in May. Very excited about that. I can't wait to read it now that I understand more. I can't wait to visualize in my head as I'm reading The Playground, and all the different stuff that you can do, and reimagining that customer journey. But what do you see happening for marketers who are creating these customer journeys, for customers who are demanding better customer journeys and more personalization? And as we get AI in the mix, any predictions, future forward thinking that we can take away with us? Of course, we're all going to go buy this book and read it and see what you think. But what can you tell us today, right now, about what you think is coming and what's in the pipeline?
Sure. So I don't think this is, I think it can be done today with different tools already, but that dynamic content of knowing you came from this place, you've been here before, you just read this article, so here's the next thing that you should read. Having that happen at scale, where you've got AI to learn who these visitors are, what are their habits. And again, this is already happening on Netflix, on YouTube, like recommendation engines. But I think having that from more of that B2B buying experience perspective, I think that's going to get easier and easier and cheaper and cheaper. Again, it exists today from a technology standpoint, and it exists from a tooling standpoint. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing, and again, it already exists today, of like getting insights, getting AI to summarize your customer calls and pull out those patterns for you. Getting AI to help you optimize your different headlines or reword things for different regions. That's an area that I think is going to continue to get sharper and sharper, and it's going to be able to be incorporated more in real time, so that the stuff that the humans are really good at, which is actually creating, actually solving the problems, actually connecting, they're going to have so much more insight to be able to show up to those conversations in a way that makes sense for the audience, because the tools are helping them sort through all of that data, all of the conversations, helping them come up with the patterns, and then helping them streamline some of the manual stuff. Again, just like with the tokens for saying first name, we now have the ability to say, okay, here's the context that Doreen came from. Here's the context she sits in. This is what she needs to hear so that she can make a decision to move forward, or she can use the content and get value, or she can apply these practices. So again, I don't actually think that it's like so revolutionary in the next year. A lot of this stuff already exists, but making it easy, making it fast, and doing it at scale, that's the real unlock that I think AI gives to us.
And it allows smaller, from what I heard you say, it allows smaller companies, smaller B2Bs, smaller businesses to use the features that the big giants already are using. Because who doesn't love a good Netflix movie that ends and you go, oh, that feels so good. And then boom, would you like to watch this one next? Like it used to be that we would ask our friends, hey, I watched this movie. What else should I watch? Now AI is prompting, and these tools are prompting and saying, well, based on what we saw, this is what and it's pretty darn good too.
Yeah.
So
the Amazon book recommendations are great.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, Ashley, I'm going to put the ticker below. Pre-order Human-Centered Marketing. For those of you who are listening to this as a podcast, you can't read the ticker. It says pre-order Human-Centered Marketing by Ashley Faus. Go ahead and pre-order that. It's coming out the middle of May, you said?
Yep. Well, early to mid-May, there's a whole, digital versus physical, but yes.
That's wonderful. And then if people want to connect with you because they're super excited about this customer journey and this reimagined funnel into a playground, where can they meet you online, Ashley?
LinkedIn is the place. I share there. I hang out there. Send me a DM. Love to connect with you.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for staying to the end. If you're here, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Both Ashley and I will be happy to answer if we didn't answer them during this live session. And let us know what you think about this new idea. And if you have questions about customer journey, I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Bye, everybody.